This is, as you can see, a figurine somewhere around 8-9 inches tall of Pennywise the Clown.
Well, as you can see, it's a glamorous pair of sunglasses designed to fit over my regular glasses.
Oh, it's a 500 milliliter beaker used for mostly chemistry, sometimes once in a while for physics, but it's just an ordinary laboratory beaker.
Well, a few plants, 6 neon tetras, and hopefully still 3 shrimp, ghost shrimp, although I've only seen 2 of them at any given time lately, but there's a lot more hiding spaces, so third one might just be hiding out somewhere.
Interesting story. Well, I found this figure at, I went to Chicago Comic-Con last summer, and I went with my wife, and it was her first time going, and we had a great time, and I was just walking around, and I spotted this figurine, and I'm not an impulsive person, but I just knew I had to have it and bring joy to my classroom and all of my students.
Sure, I mean, there are plenty of examples for this. I think the first one that most of my students in pre-calculus see is what I call the infinitely wiggly function. And it's just a function that just starts to wiggle really, 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 really fast as the argument approaches 0. Calculus also there's lots of opportunity to talk about really interesting functions. There's a function in calculus that we look at as a kind of a counterexample to a common misconception, but it's a function that has every single point on the graph a corner. In other words, the function is nothing but corners. And it's the kind of thing where you just gotta stop for a second and be like, but wait, how could literally everything be a corner? Like, doesn't it have to go straight sometime? And the answer is, no, it doesn't. It has corners everywhere. So those are some examples.
I've been doing this since I was in graduate school, and that was very, very many years ago. By mistake, well, sort of, actually. The only container that there was in the lab to hold liquid happened to be a 500 milliliter beaker, and I was very thirsty. And so I used it as a water container, and it just turned out that I got very comfortable with it. So I don't think it's for everyone, but it works out pretty well for me, so I'll keep it going.
Interesting story. So one day when Wangam came to change the water, started pouring it in, and the heating element here, all of a sudden we heard this pop, and it burst, and the bottom of it dropped off. It just, I guess it must have been thermal shock, like from, so it'll be real hot, right? And so the water going in, I guess, was too much of a temperature difference there, and it just shattered the glass. So that was a bit of a surprise. Never seen anything like that happen before.
I don't often see them directly interacting with it, although I have noticed that sometimes he'll move slightly, and I guess that it's either a student was fascinated by it, or perhaps the cleaning staff was just dusting around the area. I'm not sure.
I think once I've done this a couple of times, students will also kind of take to sometimes stealing my classes and using them for their own moments, which sometimes it doesn't work out and it's not that funny. Sometimes it's hilarious and I love every second of it. So there are lots of really cool things that happen as a result of just having something sort of mundane that you take and kind of elevate it to a higher position in the discourse of the class.
I think that at first they are surprised, but it wears off very quickly because they realize that it's not a gimmick and it's not a trick. It's just a vessel that holds water. And just like anything that holds liquids, it performs that function very well. And it's really nothing magical about it. It's just something I use to drink water out of.
I wouldn't say they interact with the fish, but they watch them at times. Yeah, some of them like to sit here and stare at them and look for them and stuff. Like one of them asked a can I sit here from now on, all the time from now on, so I can be by the fish tank?
Let me just show, he does come with some other pieces to him. So we have a nice boat, a wax newspaper boat. So I thought that, that's nice, that it shows a lot of play. We also have things like, a fascinated face. So I could pop his head off and put this one on. I could.
Could you hold that up for us?
Sure, yeah. Oh. They're hard to get his head on and off. So there's this guy. Sometimes, you could be a little sad. I could put this one on. When he's just kind of feeling a little stressed out, I thought we could put this one on maybe sometimes too. And so that's pretty much it. He has different hands too. And a nice, alternative hand, just in case. Again, maybe he's feeling a little down, turns into a monster. Who doesn't, from time to time?
It changes the way they view life? Probably not. But on the other hand, it does take something that would be quickly forgotten, something that's kind of special, something that's it gives you a window into another way of looking at life and perceiving things, and makes it memorable. So in the sense that I'm creating moments that stick with students, I think that it's fairly profound. I don't think that there are many students who come out of my class not remembering at least a couple of those moments. And in so doing, they also kind of have a recollection like, oh, right, there's some pretty zany stuff out there that math allows us to understand in a really careful way. And it's the results are surprising, amazing, mind-blowing even. And that's a good lesson to have in life, right? The idea that everything should just be a computation and we end up with a number, that's pretty boring. Like, who really wants to do a subject where that's the only conclusion is, oh, I ended up with this number, great.
Well, I would not advise students to drink water out of beakers because we don't have enough beakers to go around for that. But for me, it's just part of being a scientist, I think.
I like having it here. Something interesting to do at times, like when I feed them, watching them go after the food, and just having the greenery there, I like that.